Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 278 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to finish up with our ingots bus by working on silicon, titanium, and gold. Enjoy. Okay, we're about done with the legacy resources. We just need to add in silicon, because we have actually researched a better way of doing it compared to how it was done. The Technicolor of ores. So we'll just drop it in here. And actually, one other thing we need to do. It's kind of weird to think about, but we do have these two belts of resource. I keep forgetting which one it is. Cobalt oxide, maybe? Let's go down here and check it. It goes into our batteries. Yep, cobalt oxide. We need to put it on a train. And not exactly sure where to do it, but since we're here, we might as well. And there really isn't space on the bus for it to go. It's kind of tricky in that sense. We might just have to claim somewhere, but we can also just kind of go along the bottom here, since there is room for it. But we just need to get it on a train, so this station can be anywhere. Guess we can kind of put it like right there. We will call this one mono silicon load and get it configured. Although this one isn't for mono silicon. It's actually the cobalt oxide load. And the two belts need to come up from somewhere. We can kind of do this. So this is probably going to nuke the ore bus for a while, because it's going to take a very long time to fill up a train. I almost wonder if we shouldn't hook it up quite yet. Undergrounds? 2. Well, actually, that's technically enough, because we already have enough here. But I almost wonder if we shouldn't hook this up yet so we can save up some cobalt. But do we actually need it for anything else? Because the cobalt ingots go into steel, iron, titanium of these mixtures, but the actual only product that cobalt goes into is cobalt steel. And we've already kind of maxed out on that. It didn't take too long, really. So the rest of this stuff is byproducts, so we probably could. And let it slowly fill up. So monosilicon, the better way. It requires molten silicon and a seed. Let's just say our output is, I don't know, 60 for now and see what we get. But the seed also comes from molten silicon. It requires the crucibles, which comes from regular silicon. It's kind of funny how all that works. If we move this down here, it should give us the proper numbers. And then the nitrogen comes from the air separation. And let's crank this up with speed modules. So, what kind of output? Well, 60 is quite a bit. Kind of actually wish that setup was still there so we can see what it was set up for. I don't know if it would still be on here. It'd probably be pretty far back if it was, like all the way back here at the beginning. Let's see, that was the ingot stage, but not making the metals. I think it's too far gone. Well, we might as well base it on maximum output, which appears to be 4 belts. So this creates 108, so slightly less than 4. I don't know, we could really pump a lot of it out, and do we really need 120? I imagine the biggest consumer of it would be the electronics bus. And let's test the whole thing here. And we would only need 30. And do we need any of it at all for these other setups? No. And no. So, 120 is probably way too many. I think the most we've done for these setups is 2 belts worth, even though silicon doesn't squish into a coil form. Well, we can put in the modules. Then we kind of have our setup, and then the question is, does it fit in here? Oh, the poor cobalt. That's the rate we actually produce it at right now. Not much. because it's overloaded on nickel, so it can only run one line. So it's kinda sad. Kinda sad. But otherwise, you know, it's been doing pretty well. It's been mostly balanced, just gotta consume that nickel somehow. But that's probably gonna have to wait until the next tier of research before you can really start grinding through it. Okay, well, since we don't know how big this is going to be, might want to just kind of build it in chunks and see how much it can be squished. We might want to like do a U or something with it if it ends up being really big. We're gonna have 8 building. No! I hate it when that happens. And 3 belts in the middle. Go away. And let's see, what kind of output would it be? Because these things are actually quite small, so output might be an issue. Hurry up and get here, robots. I'll make one myself. That way we can check it. Where it's 9, so that's basically 2 inserters. But I think that would work. It'll just be kind of tricky. So these, and then the near side. That'll be the output to create the belts that we need. They probably need to be the filter versions. And it might help to have some substations in here, because it's going to be filled up. And then a regular inserter, but the filter kind, long-handed. Dropping the crucibles back in here to get reused. And they can go this way. And then the input on each side will also be crucibles and monosilicon. It's kind of funny that this particular setup is kind of complicated. Although doing that means there will be no space at all. So we're going to have to do this. This one belt can have both items that we need, which I believe could be serviced by a single yellow inserter. There will need to be the storehouse of crucibles, and then it will mix with the seeds to create our belt right here. One of them can go one way, one of them can go the other. They'll have a space here because we'll also need to make the crucibles, have some logic there, where it has to be like less than 200 to let them in. So then there's the 2 inputs that we'll need. And this potentially could be squished up a little bit, I suppose. This can make the crucibles. We'll need a total of 10 of them a second. Well, I guess actually the net is only 2 per second. So a single inserter doing this should be fine. And the input would also be small, just the silicon. So that would be the crucibles, then the silicon seeds. We can try to do on the other side here. And I guess I'll just make 2 more. Let's see, get all these set properly. So we'll put 2 of those in there. Making the seeds. And actually, it can be lined up with these other ones. And it does need quite a few seeds. But single distance changing stack inserter should be fine. 1 for each. And they just fill up since the seeds get consumed. Then we need the chemical plant and air filter. Chemical plant in here? Pretty, please, please, please. Nope. I'll just make it. So chemical plant, single air filter. This is why I keep all this stuff in the inventory, to make it so if we need a single machine, we don't have to wait on robots to take forever. We can just build what we need. So there'll be another machine here, taking the nitrogen out of the air. Would be nice to try to save this oxygen. Suppose I should try. So we'll send it down somewhere. And then an air filter working on the air, and it's already getting started. So then we just need the molten silicon to power all of this. And we've got some space right here. I think this would work. So if we jump across there, we can also do this to get it on that side. And we could jump across there as well to get it there and everywhere else it needs to go. Yep. Now then, each one of these machines needs 18. Which makes sense, because that's what it seems to be. Let's see, we'll do 2. And then long-handed 2. And the other long-handed 3. To split it across the 2 belts that are going to come in here. So the ingots would come in there, and hey, it looks like it's fitting. So that's nice. It actually ended up being a lot more compact than I was expecting it to be. The silicon ore itself would go in there, and I think that's pretty good. We should be able to just grab some oxygen from way down here. So if we check the alignment here, that should be pretty good. Then it should hop across here. Yep. Just to make use of it, because when it's going, it probably will actually produce quite a bit of it. And I do want to migrate the factory into using those air filters for making oxygen rather than the electrolyzers, so might as well. And where is the oxygen at? Did we disconnect it from there? Because I guess we made our own setup here and we didn't need it anymore. I guess, or we just chose not to hook it up. That is kind of interesting. How oxygen gas just kind of stops there. Like I definitely pulled it out. Well, I don't want to mess something up. So let's just put a non-return valve in here just to make sure it doesn't go backwards. Because I don't want it to. Because I definitely pulled it out of here. Well, conveniently, the silicon ore is right here. And the ingots are over here, which we can just get lined up. It's a little hard to place things without the markers. I guess I could lay them down, the hazard concrete. But I don't think I have very much in my inventory, but I guess I do. So we'll keep this going. Hopefully this all works. Time to see here. Making the liquid silicon. Making the seeds. Making the crucibles. They're all getting distributed where they need to be. And in general, kind of making stuff kind of slowly because it has to build up a buffer first. Otherwise, seems okay. We've got to put this train station back in because we tore it out. Looks like this is the one that's lined up. Close enough. Keep the robot network going. Okay, let's get the name of this correct. Mono silicon load. Get these. And hooked up. Looks like everything topped up. But it's not going to run very long because that's already topped up too. Looking pretty good. Let's see, we've got lead continuing here, but I don't think we need to. Because it's brass where we can't do it and just solder in lead, so I can disconnect that. I like to disconnect these things so I can see that there's no more junk and that everything has been correctly configured, because there's no more cobalt for now, so we can unhook that. So we've got titanium and gold remaining, And those are the last resources, because cobalt's already been done with cobalt steel. And hey, that all got itself taken care of. Because we've got cobalt steel here, it's done, ready to go. So now we just have the titanium and gold, which are two new processes. But because they're new, and because they're the first tier, nothing really goes into it. Just titanium ingots go in, molten titanium, and then the plates come out. And gold's the same way. That we'll have to make the gold wires locally on whatever bus this goes to, and then we can make the coil form later. So, what kind of setup would we want to do for these? Let's see. I think titanium came first on the bus. So we'll grab that. Let's say our gold is plates coming from the ingots. And this is kind of a joke, but we'll say 60 of them. And it gets relatively small. I say that's a joke because we can't produce anywhere near that many. This setup is designed to burn through 60 of them because it's there for expansion. That, when we get direct sorting of titanium, we will be able to put out 60. So that's why the belts are that big. We're just preparing for the future, so we might as well, since everything else is built up to that. So is anything similar to about 10? Seems like it would be. And here we go. Any of these would work. We could place the inserters down last, because I think we're pretty much going to be 3 inserters. Like, that's not going to be in question. So we can just kind of grab this and pick a spot. Knowing that it's not super important where it goes, because when we have a better method, it's just going to get rebuilt. But we probably don't want to smash them in there, because it's going to get rebuilt. Might save us having to move a train station or two if we don't smash them in there. And then what about gold? Is gold going to be any different? Actually, we can just kind of start a new line here. We want gold plates from the gold ingots. Get 60 of them. All the speed modules. Yeah, it's the same. Same setup. Nothing's different. So we'll do another one. Just space it to like right there or something. Wait for the robots to get down here. And we need our 2 fresh train stations. Something like right there. And another one. Kinda right there. Can't wait to get some better batteries and have the armor batteries last longer. It will mean I have to charge them longer too, because the charging is always going to happen at a fixed rate. But going longer periods of time without having to charge does sound nice, because then I could just stand the character on there and like take a drink of water or something, take a small break. So I don't terribly mind having to wait a little longer for it to charge if it means it goes a few hours before that has to happen. Because I think right now we're at about once an hour or so that we need to do that charging process. Okay, well we can try to get some of this hooked up even though the machines aren't all here yet. We know that it's going to be 3 inserters on each side with a belt coming in, and they did deliver. So molten titanium. Making the titanium plates. Oh, did I misalign this? Well, it's relatively temporary, so I'll just leave it. Titanium plate load. Fortunately, no coils for this one, just have to do the plates. And while I'm thinking about it, this one, gold plate load. And also just the gold plates, no coils. Alright, just kind of waiting on modules and things to get here. Can configure this one into molten gold. It's exactly the same as this. There doesn't need to be a wire hooked up right there. And these ones are set to gold plates. At least that one's lined up. And I have modules. I can just place them now. So we don't have to wait on robots. Okay, then we just have the resources. And since it's 2 belts going into 2 belts of machine, there's no real need to have any kind of balancer system in here. Because it's just 1-to-1. And there's no need for any kind of logic, because this is the only way to do it. So let's hook it up, and we do have a small supply of it. Was that facing the wrong way? Oh. There we go. We do have a small supply of it, so it should run for a while here, but there we go. We're getting our titanium plates. And it's going to take a while for this station to eventually fill up to the point where it becomes available. But it shouldn't take too long. Especially once all these equalize. We're definitely using the 2 belts worth. Because of inserter limitations, it probably won't be perfect, but it's mighty close. So much easier doing these than all of those, huh? Alright, then gold. Same thing. But there goes gold, and we also have a small supply of gold as well, because that is something that we're using the crystallizers on, which is nice, to produce it in a decent way. It's just too bad that, for now, cobalt can't be made that way. But there's the gold plates. Which, after this, equalizes, should basically be completely maxed out here. And then that will become available. Fantastic. Well, with that, the ingot ore bus is complete. And that being the final stage of the 3-step process to making ores and angel bobs. So, we finally finished Tier 3. Started down here, had to upgrade everything, come through here, but now we're good to go. We have every metal in the game available to us except tungsten. And that won't be that much farther away either. So now that we have access to pretty much every material, we'll be able to basically do whatever we want. And that's kind of interesting, where we've been kind of doing, you know, one piece of science at a time, where our next science is purple, where we need those electronic logic boards, and then the biopaste is basically silicon, and then we add those gold plates into here, and the white circuits to make purple science, which basically gives us just about everything we'd want. There's a lot of stuff that purple science gives you. And then after purple science, or really after titanium, it's not even a requirement of purple science. They're kind of separate. We can do pink science, requiring the transport engine and automated storage. The transport engine is just titanium and cobalt components. And same there. And we need combined memory cells, which is a little bit of gold, plus those integrated circuits. And we mix those together and get pink science. So basically, we're ready to go on pink science as well. So you can kind of see how, once you get this next tier of ore here, that stuff kind of expands really quickly. And then there's gold, but gold is locked behind that tungsten. So we'd want to grab that. And it's a little bit more complicated stuff, but basically the end game is open to us now. Where to make tungsten, we just need to get that purple research and a couple of things in here. And we'll be able to rock and roll with that. So that's why I haven't really been too concerned with tungsten and where to put it, because I know that we're quite close to being able to make it. So we'll be able to just tack it on the end right here, or on the end right here, and be good to go. I would like to rebuild this stuff right here, but once we get access to the next tier of research, we'll be able to do that. So how are the robots doing? I'm actually kind of shocked in all of that time Not sure how many episodes it would end up being, but it was a couple of hours of gameplay at least that they're still not done placing all this concrete. I mean, they're actually getting surprisingly close to being done with all of this, or at least this bottom section here. But they're not done yet, and it's not a limitation of robots. Like, the factory has 7,400 construction robots and 8,132 logistics robots. It's not a robot problem. It's just this can only pump out, what, the 15 or the 30 concrete a second. So when you have a factory that requires millions of them, it takes a little while. Because what are we at now? 27, 28, and 8. So that's like 65,000 or something. So 650,000 concrete has been made. And it's still not done. But it's getting there. And what does this look like? Well, we just saw the end of gold. And titanium is done. So their sorting methods are going. Doing the best they can. We are crystallizing some slag away, I can tell, because it's at 79. So slag is getting taken care of, just making a tiny bit of resources there. And it seems to be going pretty good. Filling up on zinc. Woo! But looking good there. So from here, like I mentioned, we definitely want to start doing some science. But there's a couple of things that are still science we can research that we've just been waiting on. Thing I'm most looking forward to is doing the cobalt processing, and then logistics 3, so we can finally get some blue belts. But that's gonna have to wait until the next episode. Thanks for watching, and I will see you later.